The next generation, Perloff, is now going to be headed to the University of Texas. Arch Manning declared today on Twitter that's where he's going. Hook 'em horns, you're getting Arch Manning.
I knew it all along.
Yeah, sure.
And I'll tell you why. Actually, I'm saying this now. I'm playing Monday morning quarterback. Why was Texas in the mix for this guy? He kept on, it stood out as a sore thumb. Or what's the expression?
Yeah, stood out like a sore thumb.
Stood out like a sore thumb that Texas was on there with Georgia, Alabama, LSU is considered Ole Miss. Why Texas? Like, Texas would not have hung around in that whole process unless they had a hook into Arch.
Yeah, right. No pun intended. I really think this is amazing for Texas. And it's not that the Texas Longhorns haven't had great recruits and big-time recruits, and I understand it, but this will be the highest-rated recruit since Vince Young in terms of coming out of college. And I do think, or coming out of high school, I do think that, like, I love college football when Texas is a thing. I don't know who would be against that, unless you're Oklahoma, like Texas A&M, like that, a rival. But this is fantastic. It shakes things up a little bit in college football. It's not just Arch going to Alabama, or Arch going to Georgia, who's just stacking. Well, I guess Texas is stacking 5-star recruits, but that would have been the obvious choice. That would have been too obvious almost. I love that Arch is zagging here where everyone thought he was going to zig. And you know what? Like, whether or not he quote unquote brings Texas back or whatever, I'll say this about Arch. He just made this so much more interesting, and I love that he's like blazing his own path here. Kudos to Arch Manning. I'm not going to get down on a 17-year-old kid today, but I'm not just saying this. I think he did the right thing, Perloff. He's so blazing his own trail.
I don't know. That seems a little over dramatic, over narrative. Arch really blazing his own trail. He's looking at some massive NIL deal and a pro-ready coach. I think there's to me, it's like a lot of logic there too. Steve Sarkisian is an offensive guru. His receivers are going to be wide open. Yep. Sarkisian knows how to get guys to the NFL, was in the NFL.
Sure.
I feel like the guy who went to Jackson State, Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
That is blazing his own trail.
You're right.
Going to University of Texas.
Yes, but don't you feel like Manning would have had a lot of pressure to just go to Alabama or go to Georgia?
Well, I think Alabama would have been a lot of pressure because of the level of that program. Sure. Arch Manning going to Alabama, that would have been basically your number one every year or your complete failure. So I think there was a lot of pressure on him to go to Ole Miss, Tennessee, and maybe LSU because New Orleans, LSU. No, the Texas thing, it just feels a little, you know what I'm saying? It's a little funny.
You're right. Travis Hunter definitely deserves more credit for going
a trail to
go to
arguably the richest program in the country. It just feels like a more utilitarian move to me than sort of a brave move.
Okay, I get what you're saying, and we can go through all of the reasons why this makes a lot of sense for Arch, like on the field, the coaching. We can even go through offensive line rankings and sort of where they're going to be when Arch would presumably start. And I'm not saying that it's brave. I just like it as a move because even you said between Alabama, Georgia, and Texas, which one of these things is not like the other? And of course, we were going to say Texas there. Yes, they're one of the richest programs in college football, but it just felt like you know what? I'm going to go a little outside of what everyone may think I'm going to do.
It's great. It makes Texas must-watch, adds another must-watch team. There has been sort of a staleness to the Final Four. Alabama, Georgia getting in there a lot, Oklahoma, Ohio State. It'll be great to see if Texas can get in there. That being said, Texas, as you mentioned, has had huge classes before. That's true. A lot of talent come through that program and spent a lot of money on coaches, and it hasn't worked out. I think we are a long way from seeing Arch Manning and the Texas Longhorns in the Final Four. If you look through a number, it is not LeBron James going if he had gone to a college. It's not a number one recruit. Football is so tricky. So much has to happen. And if you watch highlights of Arch Manning, you can tell immediately he's a good quarterback, but there's nothing about him that is so distinctive that he's automatically guaranteed to be a national champion quarterback in college football. There's just so many steps.
Yeah, there's so many steps, and sometimes Texas as a program can tend to be their own worst enemy, and sometimes they can get in their own way and stuff like that. But I would say, like, from what seemed like a real bottom of the barrel sort of moment last year, when you get off to a 4-1 start, and then you have 3 straight losses where you were holding double-digit leads in the third quarter. Then, on top of it, you lose to Kansas. at home when Kansas was a 2-win team. It felt like it was kind of dark, and yet Steve Sarkisian put together a top 5 recruiting class this year, and now with Arch Manning, like, even this is going to become an even bigger destination because, you know, I think there's like a trickle-down effect of Arch Manning choosing your program.
Absolutely. He'll recruit other guys there.
Exactly.
Which could be great. He does have the A&M problem over his shoulder. A&M is now the juggernaut.
Yep.
So that's a bit of a problem. You have a Baylor and Houston problem. Both of them are regularly in the top 10 somehow that nobody understands.
Yes.
Baylor's going to be incredible. You have, in a couple of years, an SEC problem where he'll have to go up against Alabama and Georgia. You know what would solve all this?
What's that?
Expand to 12. You have Arch at Texas. They might not be good enough to make the Final Four, but you need to highlight your player. Expand to 12 right now.
Oh, for the college football playoff.
Yeah, expand to 12 for the playoff and make this all work. Because there, as I mentioned, there's just a lot of things that need to happen for them to be a Final Four team. They were 5-7 last year.
Yep.
So Arch Manning better be good. And you can't argue. I mean, there's a lot of talent. They have the number 1 recruit from last year, Quinn Ewers, in the building. They have the number 2 dual threat quarterback from 2 years ago in the building. And they have the number 12 from this fall in the building. So having that top recruit doesn't guarantee anything.
Okay, let's pause for a second on Quinn Ewers, who we were just talking about, who is a 5-star recruit who came out of high school early, went to Ohio State, first was going to go to Texas, is from Texas, then went to Ohio State, mostly because, why? The NIL deals at the time?
So he wanted to stay, and he went to high school. I think he went to the famous, where did he go? Hold on.
Southlake.
He went to Southlake, right, which has huge crowds, and he could have gotten a lot of NIL money. Texas had a rule at the time, high school players could not profit.
Yeah,
so
college players. It's state by state.
It's state by state, and Texas, for some reason, was behind on that rule. So he went to Ohio State. Then Ohio State, he sat there last year. I remember seeing him in uniform. But Ohio State has sort of moved on past him, and then he left, went to Texas. He's a quiet kid. He's a very interesting, introspective, quiet kid with a huge, huge arm.
Yeah.
So
and a pretty sick mullet.
And people called him Joe Dirt, the quarterback. Yeah. So there's gigantic expectations on him. But tell me if you disagree. Like, say bye-bye. There's no way. Arch has got to be the guy there now.
Well, I thought it was very interesting that Arch makes his decision today and announces it on Twitter, and immediately Quinn Ewers is also trending on Twitter because a lot of people are wondering what's going to happen to this other 5-star recruit. Now, the other thing about Ewers, as we just lined out, is that he already entered the transfer portal once to get from Ohio State to Texas. So if he's going to do it again, he's going to have to sit out a year. That's a one-time thing, the transfer portal. It was created, obviously, out of the pandemic, and now it's stayed, and it's been probably even maybe more than NIL. It's been the biggest upset or change to college football, at least big-time college football. So this is fascinating because I've said this from very beginning. I do not think that Arch Manning is actually going to be competing with anybody on the roster when he steps foot on the campus of the University of Texas. They can call it a competition. We can call things whatever we want. The reality is he's going to get the job if he's healthy and available. I'm not saying there couldn't be like a red shirt or something like that, but as soon as Arch Manning is ready to play football, he is starting at Texas. That's all there is to it, whether Ewers is the better quarterback or not.
Yeah, I think Ewers is going to leave. A lot of quarterbacks have waited the 2 years and have been high picks.
Yeah, the the NFL draft is not like the NBA draft. When you're in the NBA draft and say you're 22, people are like, oh, you're ready for the retirement home. Like that definitely works against you in the NBA draft. In the NFL, it does not.
Well, and Justin Fields transferred, and we all know why he was able to play immediately because he got a racial slur shouted at a baseball game and basically in some form
like a hardship exam.
Declared hardship.
Yeah.
But look at the last, 5 of the top last 10 quarterbacks are all transfers. Obviously, Kyler Murray also out of Texas transferred. Justin Fields transferred. You go on and on.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of the thing now.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
And I think 2 years. So Quinn Ewers is not looking at urgency there. I'll bet I have a thought of where he ends up.
Well, he might want to be a little urgent. I know you can make money off NIL, but not the same type of money that you're getting or being a first-round pick in the draft.
So NIL deals are not, he already signed NIL deals in Texas. They're not allowed to be tied to the school. So the contracts cannot say you have to stay at the University of Texas.
Right.
What I found out was the contracts can say you have to do these deals within a certain geographical distance.
Oh.
That's how they get you from transferring.
What a workaround.
That's what our buddy who's in marketing told me, that they do that. So what's in
we got a guy behind the scenes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, we do. And we're not sure whether or not we want to say his name, so we won't for now.
But SMU loves taking transfer quarterbacks.
Thank you for watching our video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see more videos like this, just hit the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell.
Just hit the bell.